to show you that how we can actually go ahead and use the Pulseway AV, which is an add-on to our RMM product, which is a complete endpoint protection software that I'm going to show you. So to start with, I'm going to talk a little bit about the product first here, and then take you to the next level to show you that how you can actually use the product, and then we're going to talk about the features in specific. So that's how it's going to be. So to get started, let's talk a little bit about. So as Edgar rightly said, we are powered by Kaspersky Lab. So the solution that we have here with Pulseway is actually powered by Kaspersky Lab for the AV protection standpoint. Now, when I talk about the product in specific, we are going to cover about the deployment part. This is a centralized managed product on a single pane of glass. You do system management, you do endpoint management with Pulseway. So traditionally, when you be using the AV from any other vendors, you have a different console for your RMM, you have a different console for your backup, AV, and so on and so forth. But with this, the first and the foremost ease that you get is to actually go ahead and manage the systems and manage the AV from the same pane of glass. That's one. Then on top of that, from the same pane of glass, you can manage as many systems that you have, be it your multiple customers, be it your multiple departments within your IT organization. So from the same window, you will be able to manage them all. And not to mention, it's not limited to the web. You can also do stuff and be notified over a phone and actually update, run scans from the phone as well, right? So let's get started. I'm going to quickly go ahead and log in to the web app that you would need to actually go ahead and run. So for those who would have a setup already, it would be their company name.pulseway.com. And in here, I have the demonstration system that I'm going to log in now. So once I log into the Pulseway Web App and move forward, this would be an HTML5 based console that I get, which actually lists all my machines that I have, for which I have the RMM agent installed, which is the remote monitoring and management agent installed. So to start with, the AV offering that we have, as you see on the screen, is basically an add-on. So when I say an add-on, to have the AV in place, the RMM agent is a must. So as you see here on the left-hand side on the system section, I have a couple of machines already available here with the RMM agent installed. So your journey of doing the AV management or the endpoint management for workstations for server would go somewhat like this. So you would have to have the agent installed first, that you can actually go from the setup section and download. And from there on, once you start, you can actually go ahead and click on Antivirus. And these are the sections that you get, which is overview, agent status, policies, events, and history. So let's talk about overview section. So when we start the AV portion of it, the first and foremost thing is the licenses part. So the functionality on the licenses in terms of how many licenses you have, what is the expiration date, how much for the workstations, and a general overview of the threat detection and the items quarantine, right, is something that you see here. That's one. And moving forward, once you would have the agent installed, the first and foremost thing that we do to get started on the AV is by defining a policy. So I can go down in there and create a policy. That's one. So once I create a policy, this is from the same pane of glass that I can define policy for a server and a policy for a workstation. Now, even before I jump onto that part, let's talk a little bit about, when it comes to the planning portion of it. So when you're planning your installation, we have to be very careful on the grounds that the monitoring criteria, the scanning criteria, would definitely be different than what you have on workstations versus what you would have on servers. So on same principle, we have the policies definition here. That's one. So you can actually define two different policies, which can be servers and workstations. You can have multiple policies if you're managing multiple customer, and every customer, every environment has their own needs. That's something you can do. And then when you move forward, you can actually apply the policies, modify the policies. Now, compared to the traditional AVs that you use, the biggest advantage that Pulseway AV gives you is there is no desk side management that you have to do. You really don't have to get to the AV by launching into the console and doing stuff, right? Everything what you define is from a policy here, right? Push the agent using the policy as a rule that you have defined, and then let's get started. So let me quickly show you that how you can create a policy. So I can create a policy, and let's say servers in DC1, which is the data center I'm denoting. So the moment we click on that, just next to the overview, we have all the options that you would like to actually configure on an AV once you install it locally as an agent or as a MSI package on a computer, on a server, on a laptop. So these are the options. So we have options in objects. We can do scan exclusions. We can do trusted applications. So let's go one by one, and let me explain you that a bit. So I can actually go ahead and by default, any kind of malware detection, Trojan program detection, and malicious tools is what it comes as default in the policy. So the next thing that we do is we go ahead and select the required requirements, which can be dialers and other programs which could be harmful for the system, is something what we can do. Then we go to scan exclusion. Now this is of great importance to servers because if you have business critical applications like SQL, Exchange, or for that matter, any application which actually runs using a specific ports, if you would like to exclude, right, those specific applications is something what you can actually give it a path by clicking on symbol and giving the entire path. So to show you, I have a policy already in place that I can quickly show you that what could be a good example like this. So I can click on edit policy, which I've defined already, go to the antivirus protection, go to the scan exclusion. So as you see, I have excluded the drivers folders, considering that I don't want the scan to actually spend that CPU utilization and the schedule on my drivers folder. So on that line is something what we have done. Now, once we move forward, the next thing I've done is I've added a trusted application. So if you have something like SQL, Exchange, or for that matter, a third-party application that you know is safe, you can go ahead and put the exe path for the complete application is what you can do. Then the next option is the UI settings. In the UI settings, you can actually hide the tray icon. You can hide it from add and remove programs. Now, more than the server, this is of importance on the workstation side because in majority of the environment, sometimes people have admin access to perform their job and duties perfectly fine, which is kind of business need and a business situation. But in that case, can we compromise on security? Probably not. So that's why we have this option in place so that if we go ahead and enable these options, nobody should be able to see that the AV is installed. And even if they do, if they try to uninstall it, it will ask you for a credential set, which is only available with the admin or with the MSP who's actually going ahead and installing that on the customer end. So unless an end user doesn't have these credentials, they really cannot go ahead and uninstall any kind of AV from the system. That's one. Now, the next is file antivirus. Now, in the file antivirus, there are recommended levels. You can enable the file antivirus, which does a pure detection on the file system. You can actually select recommended levels. You can actually select low or high basis whatever your requirement is. And on threat detection, you can either select automatically. You can say disinfect, delete, basis what your requirements are. Now, when you say select automatically, if in case there is a threat detected, if the file gets deleted for some odd reason, there is a backup folder which exists on the machine that I'm going to show you that how, if in case required, you can actually go ahead and restore a machine as well from the same console, excluding the virus apart. That's something that's possible. Then we will talk about the scheduling, which is kind of important. And we can always go ahead and define a security level from a server perspective and go ahead and push that what is my security level, select the files and give it a schedule here. So once this is scheduled, once AV is installed on the machine, you can actually go ahead and set this up. And last but not the least, we're going to set notifications. So in terms of notifications, because Pulseway is a mobile-based platform, right? It means it has the power to actually go ahead and give you notifications over the email. And if you monitor the AV using the RMM agent with a couple of options, you can also get push notifications if in case there is an AV which is outdated, right? That's something we can do for you. Now, if you select all of these options, any kind of push that happens from our servers, if in case we see a signature not being updated, the definitions not into the place. So this periodic interval that is 10 days by default is something that is configured. You can reduce it down to 7 or something. Go ahead and move next. That is possible. Once this policy is defined, you can actually go ahead and see a couple of options in here, right? As I like you see, I have staging server, I have Windows workstation policy. So jumping on, the options that I showed you were more relevant for the server side, but on the workstation side, we can actually go ahead and see a lot of more options. Let me quickly show you what are these. So if I click on the other policy that I've defined, actually for the workstations, there are specific modules which are there in the product which are dedicated for workstation, because understanding the nature of AV and the exposure, the client machines are in a way more vulnerable sometimes if in case there's a lot of exposure in terms of user handling them at multiple locations and stuff. That's one, right? So let's go deep dive in terms of what workstation antivirus modules can do. So we have mail antivirus, which is more or less about the mail client. So anything coming on POP, anything coming on SMTP is what something it can do for you. That's one. Then we have web antivirus, wherein we can actually go ahead and define a couple of things on the web antivirus as well. There are recommended levels in terms of security that you can define, and what to be done on threat detection is also you can do. So this is something you can do. If we say automatically decide, there is a system defined action. You can always block, you can always allow stuff is something what you can do. With the IM antivirus, it's purely for the instant messaging services. Any kind of messages coming on instant messengers is what it can scan for you, right? That is possible. Then the next is network attack blocker. Now this option needs to be enabled on a LAN side. So if in case something like TCP flooding, SYN flood happens, this can be avoided if a group of machines have the Kaspersky AV installed powered by Pulseway, right? That's something that is possible. Now moving on, the next is monitored ports. You can actually monitor all the ports, which is inbound, outbound, or go ahead and specify specific port numbers if in case you may have any to mention here with a description to it, so that you can monitor if in case there is some traffic going in and out on those particular ports. And last but not the least, which is System Watcher, which is kind of intuitive engine which is developed in the product, right? And you can actually go ahead and enable these options to avoid any kind of exploitation that happens on the machine based on the behavior and the browsing history on the machine. And there is a database which is sitting in the behind, which keeps actually monitoring and giving out these definitions in the form of signatures. So once this is all said and done, and we are all ready with the workstation policy, we can actually go ahead and click on policies in here. And as you see, I have two policies. Now, let's jump onto the part wherein how we go ahead and push the agents. So moving on, when I click on agent status, all those machines that will actually have a RMM or a Pulseway remote monitoring and management agent installed, right? Automatically, they will be listed here with the status, whether the AE is installed on them or not. So as you see, I have 4 machines in here where my domain controller has the AV installed already with the staging server policy that we define, and the rest are my workstations and another server that I'm going to define. So on a click of a button, if in case if these were all workstations or server, I could have just sorted them out on the top. So let's say I can go ahead and select the type as server and search. So I have these 3 servers. Quickly go ahead, click on install, select the policy, select this policy, and apply the policy update. And the moment I do that, the installation will start for all these computers, right? That's one. So I can select these machines, and as you see, the installation has started. Similarly, if I go ahead and select the workstations as a group, since I have a policy for the workstations as well, I can go ahead and click on install, select the workstation policy, and apply the update. Now, while this happens, in the background, all the computers on which we have actually pushed this activity, you will see that over time there would be a status that will come like this. It will take a couple of minutes to install the agents. That's one. Now, let's understand that what's happening. So once you do that, over the time, there is an architecture difference in place that I would like to talk about what it brings a real value. If you have an RMM agent installed on the computer, right, which is actually going ahead and helping you manage and monitor the OS components, and alongside when it does the AV as well, that same engine from the same platform is giving you the power to manage them both. Now, be it your AV protection now, be it your system monitoring, you can do it from here. That's one. Plus, when you actually deal with a vendor, which is a third-party vendor directly, they push out the definitions to your system and they have their own UI and stuff. Now, in here, when we talk about the updates, here how it works. So all the updates that we have from Kaspersky, they're first tested and tried on our own servers, and from there on, they're being pushed. So if in case you would see a system being outdated, you'll be notified over time via email that the system is out of definition. If you enable the setting on the RMM agent, and you quickly come back in here on the agent status, right, and see a lot of stuff, and go ahead and see if in case they are being installed. So they are taking a couple of minutes to get installed here. So once these agents are installed, right, I can actually go ahead and set up all this stuff here. That's something I can do. Now to show you, this is my workstation in here that I have. So in a couple of minutes, we'll actually be able to see that the Kaspersky antivirus is actually installed on this. Now, moving forward, so once this is installed, we also spoke about at the beginning of the session that we have a mobile device that it can manage. Now, that's an advantage, that Pulseway brings you in there. So once you have this agent installed, this is the view that I would like to show you, that how it looks on a computer or a server for that matter when you have an AV installed and you would like to do the management, even before we get on and talk about features. So this domain controller, as you see, which I have the AV installed already, I can go ahead and select this, and this is a simulator for my mobile device. So once you are on Pulseway, you have the RMM, which is again a base, and because AV is the add-on, you get this view on your mobile devices, on your iOS devices, on your Android devices, right? Wherein you can click on the domain controller, scroll it down, and do the AV management from here itself. So as you see, I have an option of antivirus. I can click on that, and with an ease and click of a button, I can start a scan. I can start an update. I can actually go ahead and disable the protection. So let's give it a try. Assuming that you are an MSP or you are an IT admin, you get a notification about a computer on a Saturday night that this is not updated. Well, the traditional way has been to actually connect to your system and then log in and push the updates. This was traditional. With the new gen thing coming in with Pulseway, right, you can actually quickly log into your mobile phone, start the update like this, and say start update. So the moment you click on this, what would happen is I can actually go to my domain controller here, log into my domain controller, and when I open up the Kaspersky agent, which is running on the computer, I would actually be able to see that the update is working. So as you see in here, the update has already started. That's one. So on a click of a button, you've been able to manage the update. Now let's say that if this was a scan, that how it works. So let's get back to the mobile app and click on Start Scan and start a scan. Now, alongside the mobile, because this is something which is an extra mile thing, same task can actually be done using the web app as well. How do we do that? We go back to the web app in here, right? And as you see, I can see the status as updating, right? Always click on action and I can change a policy. I can stop an update. I can run a full scan if that's happening. So in real time, whatever I do, either from the mobile or from the web app, is something where it reflects on the system, and you also get a notification that how it works. So as you see, it's still scanning. The update must would have been completed. That's one. Now, in case of events, as you see, I can actually show you a couple of things that how do we handle the threat management portion of it. So on this computer, I had a test file which was a threat. So when you get a threat, you get notified by email. That's something you define in the policy, right? And you quickly go ahead and see that these files have been deleted from my desktop on which I have pushed my AV right now. So while this is actually installing, it's in parallel also going ahead and trying to see if there are any threats on the computer. That's one. So if I were to actually see this file to be restored, I can actually go in this computer. So once the agent is installed on this computer, let's quickly log in and see how things are here. So going back, I can actually go in here and say delete or restore the file. If I restore the file, it will actually go ahead and restore the file on the system in specific. That's something that can be done. Going back to the agent status, we'll see the AV is still installing on a couple of machines. Now, when it comes to the threat detection and stuff, let me show you that what would be the areas that we actually need to go ahead and see. So if in case there is a file that is detected as a threat that has been quarantined on the system, all these options are available here on the local agent as we see. So if this was the domain controller, I can come in here and see all these settings that are pushed from the policy being enabled here. That's one. Then the second is we go to protection and control. I can click on the file antivirus and see all these settings. I can go to the backup folder. So tomorrow, if in case the system actually finds a file infected being deleted, this is where it comes. So when I'll restore that file from there, this is where it actually picks it up from and puts it onto the same location. That is one. Now, alongside, once this happens, there are a lot of things that we can actually see. Now, traditionally, these settings is something that you would have to manage locally on that machine. But now, with the power of the web app and a couple of things like mobile app and other features in place, you can manage all these files, all these actions from the web app. So going back, let's click on that. Let's click on the agent status. And as you see, the agents are still installing, and I have one scanning on the top. So when I click on search, I can actually do a couple of things here. Now, one thing to mention, we see a lot of options here on the top, which is to do with scopes, group, tags, and types, right? So what we need to do is that tomorrow in real life scenarios, when we would have multiple customers, when we would have multiple systems, what you define in the RMM agent, the remote monitoring and management agent, you can act and select a group like server, workstation is one. You can click on servers and search. And also in here, you can group the machines by customer name. So on a standpoint of installation from a technical perspective, since this is an add-on, if some of your customer needs AV and if some don't need AV, right, you can actually go ahead and onboard them as and when the need arises by just grouping the servers, right, selecting all this stuff here, right, and moving forward. That something is done. Now, in terms of notifications, so any kind of notifications that you get for the threat is in the form of email that you get. You can always go to the history section and search data in here to see if in case there were any events, what was the event status, if there was a threat, if there was some deletions done, and you can sort them out by scope, group tags, and types. So that's something is doable. So with this, there are a lot of features that we can talk about, we can discuss about, but if in case you have any specific things to talk in detail, to have any questions, I'm going to leave the table open for any kind of questions that you may have so that I can answer them. Once again, thanks for being a good audience here, and this is Nick. Alrighty, so I guess I have a couple of questions already.
So a question from one of the
Ed,
audience.
over to you.
Yeah, questions from Lynette about we're going to have a recording basically as well to send out so everybody can have a copy of it. Chris has a question for you. Nick?
Sure. So I have a question from Chris that says, so we use whatever antivirus you want and you can manipulate it with Pulseway app. So here's the thing, with the AV that we offer is the Kaspersky that we have. And all these settings that I showed you, the features that I showed you are only for the Kaspersky agent that will be installed on the computer. I hope that answers your question.
Any more? Okay. One more question here.
Yep. So if in case you have the Kaspersky installed, right, it could be a different version of Kaspersky that Kaspersky offer. So that is something that we need to do a little bit of analysis to understand what the definitions are. So if we go ahead, if there is an overlap, Kaspersky agent is smart install itself to actually go ahead and override and do the installation.
Okay. Question from Richard. He's asking how to access the web app. So the web app, if you're on the Pro plan, is available on my.pulseway.com/app. You can access it through the website as well. And if you are a MSP or team plan customer, you'll have a dedicated instance that you can log into and manage your AV from there. One more question here. Can you have CAV on PCs that don't have Pulseway?
Well, we don't. So KAV, which Kaspersky Antivirus, is an add-on, right, to the RMM agent. But in turn, if in case you've been traditionally just selling or proposing AV, you can still go ahead and push the agent first, install the AV, and deliver it as a bundle to your customers. Now, jumping on to the next question, I have.
So,
can you manage more than one company under the same interface? Yes, we can. So if you have more than one customers defined under groups in the Pulseway RMM, is something definitely you can do. And same way you can manage the AV as well. That's doable. So to answer your questions, be it multiple departments, be it your multiple customers, multiple companies, you can manage in that single pane of glass. So the next question is from Richard, wherein he's having. So Richard, if in case you're having any technical issue, or for that matter, anybody having a technical issue, please quickly write an email at pulseway.com, and one of our technical reps will be contacting you shortly to help you there on technical issues. So moving on to the next question is from Lewis, which is, can I push the install to all workstations on the domain, or do I have to do individually on that machine? Good question. It's a very good question. So we can actually go ahead and push the agent on a couple of machines together, which can be as low as one, and group of machines, with the number of machines in there. So there is no limitation to that. The next question is from Chris, when he wants to reconfirm if AV is an extra component. Yes. So Ed, would you like to add something on the pricing portion of it, that how it is?
So Pulseway AV is an add-on to the Pulseway RMM, and it's priced at $1 per workstation a month, and $2 per server a month.
Okay, sure, thank you. So with next question from Radek, which is about Kaspersky endpoint protection is compatible with a third-party Kaspersky technical add-on. So like I said, if in case you have existing installations of Kaspersky, it's something that we need to diagnose, and when we push the agents, if there's an overlap, in some cases it has been configured correctly, But in some cases, if it doesn't, we might have to go ahead and uninstall the third-party add-ons and then push the AV. The next question is from Peter, which it says, is there a minimum amount of agents that you need to have per purchase for the MSPs? Ed, would you like to answer that?
So I think if you're referring to the MSP plan as a whole, there's a minimum entry of 25 endpoints, but with the AV, there's no minimum entry with the MSP plan.
Sure. And the next question is from Mark, which is again about the cost, which says, does the cost vary between installing the service on PCs and servers? So I think Ed must have mentioned.
So okay, so the PC workstation pricing is comes in at $1 per workstation, or the server price is $2 per workstation, and the Pulseway Antivirus is currently only available for Windows machines.
Thanks, Ed. Any more questions, Edmund?
One more question from Martin, Nick.
Yep. So that says he has 12 servers across multiple clients, but does not have Pulseway on them. Would he need the Pulseway agent for the AV to be there? Yes. So the Pulseway agent is a mandate in terms of, because this is a baseline, and the AV is an add-on to it. Now, keep that in mind. Keeping that in mind, that the RMM portion is something that you don't need, but if in case your requirements are to get to access the AV, the endpoint protection from a mobile app and from a web app on a single pane of glass, that's where the RMM function comes in. It's not from the monitoring perspective, but to make it more holistic, so that you get accessibility of the endpoint protection anywhere and at any time, is where you need the agent for.
So we, just to further to that on Martin, we also have workstations separate pricing now available. So the cost would be quite low for you to deploy both AV and workstations onto those 80 machines.
Sure. So moving on to the next question, which is from Clarence, which is about our AV compared to a competition product. So yes, there is a one-to-one feature. There's a literature we can send you in there in place and time. Ed, you might want to pick that up, and I'll jump on to the next question, which is, are we planning to add some more modules, say Windows updates? Okay, so Chris, to answer your question, Windows updates is actually already a part of our solution, which comes part and parcel with our RMM. So if you would like some deep dive information in terms of how we can do patching, I can quickly show it for the rest of the audience as well. You can click in here, go down, and do patching for systems using this RMM agent. And there are a lot of other tools. Patching is just one of them.
We also have this available in the automation tasks. We have a new script out that lets you automate all your Windows machines at once at a designated time as well. So,
sure.
Chris, if you get a chance, check out our automation module. You'll find the script you're looking for the Windows update script. You can schedule the scopes you want to update and the clients you want to update, for example, and execute those on interval times. No problem. Any more? One more? Yes, we'll provide a link for that as well. Does Kaspersky deal with ransomware, Nick? So the system watcher component is quite a... So if you could take that.
Yep, that's one. And that's rightly said by Ed. The system watcher component, as like I said, is an intuitive agent that actually does an understanding of the behavior of monitoring and take care of that. Moreover, technically, if we talk about the nature of ransomware, it uses specific ports to penetrate into the system, like 445 or SMB and stuff, right? And there are specific ports that need to be opened for a ransomware to actually get into the systems, which are readily available as information on the internet. If we go ahead and monitor those ports, that's another way of over and above the system watcher to avoid ransomware to come into system. The next question is from David, that in case an existing subscriber with Kaspersky as a product separately can can be monitored by Pulseway. Uh, I think at a basic level, just of doing whether the AV is enabled and disabled, only that thing, like a true or false condition, is what our agent is capable of. But the one that we just demonstrated, like the full-fledged management of centralized thing from the mobile app, is something that you need to have as an add-on with a product.
Okay. So any more questions at this stage? Again, we're available afterwards as well. You'll get a confirmation email for attending the webinar, and you can reply to that directly. Or if you have pricing related questions or looking to get a quote, a personal quote, you can always email sales@pulseway.com. Actually, one more question coming in.
Okay. So I think, Ed, do you want to answer that? So I think Chris is asking about a purchase from some kind of distribution channel.
From a third party? You mean a reseller, Chris? And what location? If you can actually send me an email afterwards and we can have a conversation about that. In the currently not. So we sell AV directly and our solution directly in the United States.
And to add a few cents to Ed just said, I mean, more than a product, I mean, using this AV service here is more like you buying a service and selling a service in turn to a customer versus a traditional product. And moreover, one quick thing I would like for everyone is that with this product, the most important thing that you to save your time on is the license management, because since this comes as a service, you really don't have to spend time on managing the customer's license, which customers got what license, and those email registrations, all in a single place of glass, automatically managed here.
The the antivirus, again, is just to emphasize, is available with all the plans. It's available with Pro, MSP, and Team plans. The MSP plan is the only one that provides it on a monthly basis, specific for MSPs and their needs, to offer it as a monthly service to the customers. Again, if you're looking to in the agent status in the antivirus module, if you're looking to separate it by customer or by client or by department or by location, you can do so in the search filter at the top, where you can define the scope, the group, and so on to identify your customers. So if you have a customer A, location B, you can always create a scope for that customer and do updates and so on, everything, perform all those actions at once. So we have an email from Chris. We have offices in Dublin, which is our headquarters, and we have offices in the States as well. So one more chance for any last questions, price related or technical, before we wrap this up. Again, this will be available. Recording will be available after the webinar, and you can email us directly as well if you want to get in touch with anyone. Whether it's technical, you can email support@pulseway.com. If it's sales related, you can email sales@pulseway.com. Or again, you can email directly to the reminder you get after this webinar. Okay, so I think thanks everyone for joining. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you, Nick, for being a part of this as well. It was a pleasure. So with that, we'll say goodbye and thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.